Hey, thanks for the dislikes random fandom disliker, because, well, you think it's justice or something, I don't know. Honestly, I will never understand my database, and that's personally okay. I tend to not get involved with them anymore, as it has actually affected my mental health. I know no one's been posting about it, or, if they have, it's hidden in some Discord somewhere, where I would never even be aware of. So, props to anyone who wishes me the best, even if you think my content is shit, which, spoiler alert, that's the whole point. Good how to Tomo 101 content is garbage. Bad how to Tomo 101 content is what others consider decent content. I can't believe I had to actually explain that. And, you know, I'm going to say this again, you shouldn't be associating what the person makes, or plays, with who they are as a person. Not only is that a really harmful mindset to have, both for the writer and the viewer, but it's also insanely toxic. Imagine it like how it was in the mid-2000s. Congressmen and concerned but uninformed parents hated video games and actually believed they caused violence. No joke. If you told people you played Super Mario or Grand Theft Auto, some people would look at you like you were going to commit a mass shooting, even though really all cases of it actually happening were due to a variety of unrelated outside factors. We all know damn well that people who play Minecraft aren't going to deconstruct anyone's houses, or that Halo players or Microsoft support mass genocide. We've also literally fought, as gamers, for years, to convince people that's not the case. It's the same thing with phone stigma, the 1700s when people thought books were a waste of time, opening up about mental health, and so much more. Now it's actively encouraged to do all of these, barring video games, but that's a better alternative to drinking or betting on casino games anyway. The same rules apply to fiction. Because, let's be honest here, what if absolutely no bit of fiction was allowed to have killing, drugs, suggestive themes, things that might have a slight indication to offend someone? I don't mean an age restriction for them, just outright banned. Shit would be pretty boring, and nothing would ever go past kids' book levels of conflict, because everything else is outlawed and looked down upon, and if you did, you were branded as a psychopath, or a sociopath and never trusted around anyone. Ridiculous, right? No one would actually want to be a writer of anything other than kids' books in said country, and it would do absolutely nothing to curb any form of crime. In fact, I dare say, it'd actually make real life worse. Every crime across the board rising in rates, because what would have deterred and occupied public offenders who would have the thoughts to kill or rape someone, or had a message to not do that, doesn't exist, only enhancing the curiosity in those people. Combine it with modern Twitter laws, and we'd literally have a worse version of the Chinese government, where you aren't allowed to express yourself, but at the same time, you know of everything happening in the real world, and if you don't agree with or maybe understand the opposing argument against the politically agreed upon mind, you basically get the death penalty. Does anyone in their right mind want that? I'm sure a few ultra-communists or neo-Nazis would fucking love that, because they'd be on the dark web anyway, not giving a fuck. Meanwhile everyone else is in limbo constantly worrying about every choice they make. If you want a society that manufactures anxiety, that's exactly what limiting a story would do. Point. Gosh, this was originally going to be a tier list discussion video, but I got really passionate about this topic. Like, really passionate. Another thing you probably shouldn't do, remembering that point, is try to limit or harass people regarding Rule 34, as an individual or a community. What I'm going to say is, it's going to happen, regardless what I, you, or the internet majority think, because you got people from multiple countries and multiple ages all connected to one lawless land only enforced by individual policies that I'm damn sure anyone can circumvent. Are you allowed to not like the stuff or not think it's alright? Absolutely yes. Because, at the end of the day, art is art, and your country isn't the end all, be all of what other people can do. I had to put that there, since the majority of people abusing or harassing me for stuff I already apologized profusely to those involved are, in fact, dumb Americans. If the art is really fucking concerning and doing something like drawing literally nothing but lollies that actually look like children under the age of 10, like I've actually encountered in DeviantArt, the one place commentary people really should be policing, but aren't, you should express your concern in a civil manner and report the content. But don't obsessively mass report, abuse, and harass them to the point where they view your whole community, or yourself, as a toxic brain-dead shithead, because then it only adds fuel to the fire, and you aren't any better than they are for doing that. Not only that, but if you do get them to leave the platform, all that'll happen is they'll be somewhere else with nothing but resentment towards the justice system in the first place, and the cycle will continue until someone is actually physically hurt by your actions. not theirs, yours. You didn't stop or resolve the issue, you only moved it somewhere else using abuse, sometimes only temporarily. Seriously, we, as people need to fucking stop doing that. Yeah, DeviantArt is a whole rabbit hole I think I want to cover later, because a lot of the time, if they are more obscure character, I do have to go there to make hard art. And I'm telling you, I've seen some shit. If you skipped everything and schemed through, as a too long, didn't read. Don't judge a publisher based on its book, and don't be a hyperactive and considerate sped. I know it's really hard for some of you, because that urge to gain power and status by climbing off the coattails of someone else's success, or maybe, because you despise the guy. But if we figure this out and mature as the entire internet actually, we might actually make 2021 a better year for everyone. Oh yeah, since I'm on the subject, I recently heard that Eat That Pussy 445 came back to this particular site, with the idea that everyone who has a problem with how he's acting, actually being a pedophile, are actually haters, and fuck the haters. Also that they are apparently jealous. Okay, hold in a moment there my nigga. I don't know what kind of pack you've been smoking, but I'm damn sure no one who wants to see you find some help, or a cure for said pedophilia, which is actually really unfortunate that he even has it in the first place, wants to pull up to who he thought was a 14-year-old, and end up being caught in HD triple MX 16K and a half and become the laughing stock of the internet. Like, that's actually disgusting, and a real-life concern. As someone who's compared to Ed Polot guy, some really stupid people, the same kind that believe all aired news isn't real, not just CNN or Fox News like a lot of people out there, but also everything else, even the Canadian news which, by law, has to remain informative and neutral, but yet somehow believe a 12 and 14-year-old, both known to be compulsive liars and shit disturbers, into thinking some really fucked up shit to make people believe. There has to be some kind of line where your grudge against a person stops, and you consider their humanity for a moment. It's extremely juvenile, no other word to describe it. Anyway, yeah, I know the shadow disliker is probably going to not like this video and send a death squad of dislikers to intimidate me, but he's the same guy who fell into my bait earlier, which, if video games cause violence and writing a kid getting hit is child abuse, he likes Frans unironically. Feel free to dislike, if you like the Chinese government and maybe you do think that fiction should only be kids' books. See, look, the dislike thing is different every video, can't say I'm not trying. Anyway, it's time I get this thing ready with a half-working mouse. You all, have a great day.